going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. Let's start with some baseball scores from yesterday. Braves over the Phillies 5-1. Braves have won 8 in a row. They have the best record in the National League. Diamondbacks beat the Nationals 5-3. They have the second best record in the National League. They are having a great season. They win yesterday. Twins over the Red Sox 6-0. Guardians over the Athletics 6-1. A's, who have obviously been horrendous this year, they won 7 in a row. Now they lost 7 in a row. 19 and 58 this year. Yikes. Padres over the Giants 10-0. Manny Machado and Gary Sanchez each had 3 homers. Royals beat the Rays 6-5. Marlins beat the Pirates 6-4. Derek Cooper threw a homer in the 8th inning. Marlins got 8 runs in the 5 runs in the 8th, 3 on the home run by Cooper. And the Mariners over the Yankees 10-2. Domingo Germán got rocked again for the second straight time. Yankees are not playing great. Obviously have a lot of guys out. Have had a lot of guys injured in their bullpen all year. Still don't have Carlos Rodon or Frankie Montas. Montas, I don't think we'll see all season. Aaron Judge is out. They just got Harrison Bader back. 7 games over 500 in that division with all their injuries is okay, but obviously the Yankees were expecting a lot better this year. And only other thing for baseball that I have is Mets and Phillies are going to play in London next year. I think it's like June 8th and 9th. So that's, as a Mets fan, that's kind of cool. Mets don't have much to cheer about. That's going to be very, very cool. I think it's very cool that the Major League Baseball is playing in our country. You see the NFL does it. The NFL plays in London a couple times every year. Last year they just started playing in Germany. That was a great success. And now MLB is kind of trying to take a page out of their book. And they're going, Mets and Phillies will be playing 2 games in London next year. NHL Hall of Fame was announced. The guys who got in were Henrik Lundqvist, longtime New York Rangers goalie, Tom Barrasso, Mike Vernon. So we got 3 goals who got in. Pierre Turgeon, from Islander, who's a great player. Or actually, no, I don't think but I believe he was on the Islanders or he's from New York. He's got some sort of New York ties. Ken Hitchcock, who's a coach who got in. He was a great coach, coached a lot of teams. He was in Boston at one point. Most recently, he was in Dallas. He had a very successful career as a coach. Pierre Larsois, who's a GM, and then Karen Ouellette is a women's hockey player who got in. So I'm very happy for Henrik Lundqvist. He was a great Rangers goalie for a very, very long time. He won the Vezina Trophy at least once, if not twice. I think he was an All-Star 6 or 7 times. Unfortunately, never won a cup, but he was an incredible goalie. I believe he's top 6 in wins in NHL history. One of the greatest goalies of all time. So shout out to him. Shout out to all the NHL Hall of Fame members. Now let's get to the NBA draft, which was last night. I'm going to go through the first round, some trades, some of the players, and I'll mention, some not every pick in the second round because a lot, we're also have a lot in the NBA. There's usually not too many guys that turn into really good players. Every once in a while, see Nikola Jokic is the 41st pick. Giannis, I don't think was taken to a mid first round pick. So every once in a while, but look, most of the top guys aren't like that. Like Luka was a top 5 pick. Embiid was a top 3 pick. So most of these guys, Stephen Curry, who sure got number 1 probably, but he was still top 10 pick. Obviously, LeBron James was the first pick in the draft. Damian Lillard was a very high pick. John Morant, when he's not on Instagram, is a great player. He was the second pick in the draft. So, but I'll go through notable second round picks, and there's a couple of notable undrafted guys who got scooped up who I like, whether could carve out some sort of role in the NBA. Well, let's get right to it. Spurs first overall, Victor Wembanyama, of course, the 7'5" unicorn from France, can shoot the 3. He can dribble. He can rebound. He can block shots. He's a great defender. Got a chance to be one of the all-time greats. Absolute superstar in the making. Generational talent. He's a San Antonio Spur. And you got the Horns, the second pick. They went with Brandon Miller. So they were going back and forth between Brandon Miller and Scoot for months and months. They had to go with Brandon Miller. I do think it's a very good pick. I think they would have been fine either way, but Miller's probably a better fit. Miller is a great scorer, really good shooter, can take it to the hole. I don't know how much he's going to defend at the NBA level because of his small frame, but now you put a dangerous scorer and a really good three-point shooter in Miller next to LaMelo Ball, who's a really good playmaker, really good facilitator, and he can score as well. That's a really good duo in Charlotte. Portland goes with Scoot Henderson from G League Ignite. I love Scoot Henderson. He was probably the best player in the draft. He's probably a better player than Miller, but you think Scoot's a guy who who's like an athletic specimen. He's like that's basically like having John Morant and Russell Westbrook in the same backcourt, two explosive point guards. So it wouldn't make a ton of sense. But Scoot in Portland, you put him next to Dame, that's an elite duo. Scoot's a really explosive athlete. He reminds me of like a prime Russell Westbrook or a prime Derrick Rose before Derrick Rose got here when it comes to athleticism from the point guard position. Needs to work on his 3-point shooting, but I do think he can improve with that. And he's going to be targeted on defense because he's 6'2", but he's always hustling. So I think he'll be able to make some hustle plays on defense to make up for him being targeted all the time. Maybe giving him a bunch of points because he's just not super tall guy. But him and Dame, I think are going to be tough to stop. Assuming Dame wants to stay in Portland, it seems like 1 minute he wants to rather be traded, and the next minute he wants to stay. He hasn't officially made a formal trade request yet. Wish he would make up his mind, but if he stays, him and Scoot together could be dangerous. And then you have Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe. That backcourt's really deep in Portland. Both overall, the Rockets went to the overtime elite and drafted Amen Thompson. It's a kid who I really like. He's not a very good shooter. I don't think he'll make a ton of 3-point shots in his career. That being said, he's a 6'7" guard. He is a great passer. He is a great athlete, and he is a great defender. And I think he's a perfect fit for the Houston Rockets because the Rockets needed a lead guard. They needed a true floor general, and then needed defense. And they get both on Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson can run the point. And he's kind of a combo guard. And he's a great defender, which the Rockets really, really needed. Although I don't think he'll shoot too much. I don't think he'll shoot too efficiently for his career. He's still, I think, a chance to be a great player. Fifth overall, the Detroit Pistons take Ausar Thompson. So the Thompson brothers are the first brothers to be taken in the top 5, both in the same draft. The Ball brothers, Lonzo Ball and LaMelo were both top 5 picks, but those were in separate drafts. The Thompson brothers back-to-back in the same draft, both in the top 5. That's crazy. Ausar's a really good talent for the Pistons. He, similar to his brother Amen, isn't a great shooter. I'll say he's a little bit of a better shooter. But he still isn't a great shooter. And he's not super super shifty, so he's when he takes to the rack, he's nothing super explosive, but he is still a great athlete. He can score. He's a really good finisher. He can rebound. He's a very good defender. He's a really good player. With Detroit, you put Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, and Ausar Thompson out there. That's going to be tough to defend. You got 3 really explosive youngsters out there. I would say Amen's probably a better. If you're comparing the 2 brothers, Amen's a better athlete. He's a little better passer, but Ausar's still a great passer. Ausar's still a great athlete. Ausar's a little bit of a better shooter, but both don't have the greatest 3-point shot in the world. But I think they're both going to be really, really good. They're both gifted athletes. And then 6th overall, you have the Orlando Magic. They took Anthony Black, a point guard out of Arkansas. So I know some people have some concerns with him because, he's not a great shooter. He's not a shooter, so how can he run an NBA offense if he's not a shooter? His first step off the dribble isn't fantastic, but he's an incredible playmaker. First of all, he's up 6'7" point guard, so he's able to see over the top of a defense because being a point guard, he's going to be on guys that are several inches shorter than him. He's able to see over the top of a defense. He's able to see plays before they happen. So just his playmaking is off the charts. He's a great passer. He's got incredible court vision. I think going to be a really good point guard. And now if you're Orlando, we got a lot of good young talent. They said if they took up guard, they looked to trade Jalen Suggs or Cole Anthony. Now they have the chance to do that. And I believe that they will do that. It makes sense. Like Anthony Black might not be better than both of them. I think he is. But I do like Anthony Black. He's a really good playmaker, even though he's not a shooter. Some overall, so the Pacers took Bilal Koulibaly, who was actually teammates of Victor Wembanyama in France, then traded him to the Wizards. So they didn't technically trade picks; they picked for the Wizards. So the Wizards get Bilal Koulibaly. He's a guard. He was a teammate of Victor Wembanyama. Wembanyama had a lot of good things to say about him, saying he was their X factor. He's a guy who's a solid scorer. He's a really good defender. So the Washington Wizards are doing a complete overhaul of their roster. You trade Bradley Beal to Phoenix. You get back Chris Paul, Landry Shamet. You get back 6 second-round picks and 4 first-round swaps. You then ship Chris Paul to Golden State. You get Jordan Poole, who's only a year removed from being an absolutely great year. Took a little bit of a step back this year, but a young player who you can evaluate. And then you throw in Ryan Rollins. Last night we got news that Patrick Baldwin was on there throwing in the trade. You pick up, I think, a second rounder in 2028 and a first rounder in 2030. And then you trade Porzingis to the Celtics. And a 3-team trade with Memphis. You get Tyus Jones, a good young guard from Memphis. You get from the Celtics, you get Gallinari. You get Mike Muscala. You get the 35th pick in the draft. So and you already got some young guys there. Johnny Davis, the guy you drafted last year. I assume he'll play a lot more. Now you bring in Koulibaly. During the draft, all of a sudden the Washington Wizards could be set up nicely with this new rebuild, especially now they're going to have a lot of draft picks into the Bradley Beal trade. And the Pacers, who trade back a spot to the 8th spot, end up with Jarace Walker, power forward out of Houston. I heard a lot of teams heading into the draft liked him. I heard teams didn't think he'd get past the 7th pick. Second goes 8th. He's a really good player out of Houston. Indiana's got a lot of good young players there. Tyrese Halliburton, Aaron Nemhard, Benedict Mathurin, even Miles Turner is a nice big man. Now you have Jarace Walker. The Pacers might be a really good wing away from being a really serious playoff contender. I like that pick. 9th overall, Utah Jazz take Taylor Hendricks at UCF. He's a big guy, power forward, 6'9". You put him next to Lauri Markkanen. That should be exciting. You got a 10th pick. So it was supposed to be the Dallas Mavericks, but the Mavericks make a trade with the Thunder. They trade Davis Bertans and the 10th pick OKC for the 12th pick. So the Thunder move up to the 10th spot and take Cason Wallace, a point guard out of Kentucky. Thunder's got a really good young core. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a stupendous player. Has developed into one of the best point guards in the entire NBA. Was first team All NBA this year. Absolute star. And now you take another Kentucky point guard, Cason Wallace, and you got 2 Kentucky boys in the backcourt. I like it. You have Chet healthy this year. They pick up Davis Bertans, who's a guy who's a big guy that can shoot on the bench. Casey Wallace to the Oklahoma City Thunder in the backcourt with Shy. I think will be very exciting. They pick up Bertans. Dallas is able to move off a contract. I'm sure they're trying to free up money to resign Kyrie Irving, which I don't think they should do, but that's what they want to do. In that way, it makes sense. 11th pick was Magic take Jet Howard. Like the Magic really needed a shooter. And yeah, Grady Dick, who's one of the best shooters in this draft, sitting right there. And they don't take him. That's been the pick, but I do think Jet Howard's pretty good. So it was a decent pick. And then Dallas trades back 2 spots to 12, and they take Derek Lively a second out of Duke. He's might be the best shot blocker in this draft. Either him or, of course, Victor Wembanyama. He averaged, I think, like 3 blocks a game last year at Duke. He's a great shot blocker. Dallas really needed a big man. And they also made a trade with the Sacramento Kings to get Richaun Holmes, who's a solid rim protector, and you pick up one of the best, if not the best, shot blocker in this draft, and Derek Lively the second out of Duke. If he's a good fit in Dallas, I think that's a good pick. 13th overall, the Raptors get Grady Dick. I really like Grady Dick. He's a great shooter out of Kansas. He's a guard. Toronto needed a point guard with Fred VanVleet turning down his player option, and they get one in Grady Dick, who is a fantastic shooter. He can really space the floor. You saw him before the draft. He had some nice drip on. He had the GD necklace. He said that he wanted Drake to wear his jersey, and then Drake followed him on Instagram. So he seems like an exciting kid, and he's a really, really good shooter. Yeah, I don't know how much he'll defend. He's a bit of a smaller guy. He was targeted at Kansas, but he's very, very good. 14th overall, New Orleans Pelicans. They took Jordan Hawkins out of UConn. I really like Jordan Hawkins. He had a really good year at UConn last year. Was fantastic in the tournament. Part of a great UConn team this past year that won the national championship. He was really, really good. His cousin is actually Angel Reese, who's the player on LSU, just won the national championship. She's the one who had the back and forth with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA championship. He's actually her cousin. She actually tweeted out right before the pick, was like, "Hey, Pelicans, if you take Jordan Hawkins, you're getting the killer." And then they take Jordan Hawkins. So I thought that was kind of funny, but he's a really good player. There's a lot of things I really like about Jordan Hawkins, and the Pelicans got a really, really good squad. Zion's healthy. They take him. 15th overall, Atlanta Hawks. So there was talks they might trade the pick maybe with Capella or Collins. The Dallas ended up happening. They stay at 15. They take Kobe Buffkin out of Michigan. This is an interesting pick because he's a guard. Obviously, you already got Trae Young there, who's a great point guard. And then you got you also did Dejounte Murray. There was a report a couple of weeks back that said that Atlanta would listen to offers on Dejounte Murray. You just gave up like a bunch of first picks to get him last year. Here he isn't a good fit next to Trae because they're both ball-dominant guards. I think Dejounte's a great player. He can really score, really good shooter. First of all, I think Atlanta overpaid. They gave up like 3 unprotected first-round picks for him. And he doesn't really fit right next to Trae Young, to be honest. So, Kobe Buffkin, Michigan goes to Atlanta. 16th overall, Utah Jazz are up again. They got the Timberwolves pick from the Rudy Gobert trade. And they take Keontae Georgia Baylor. I like him. Utah is building something really nice over there. They got if Colin Sexton's healthy, they might trade him. But if he's healthy, I think he's got a chance to be a great player. You got him in the trade for Donovan Mitchell. O'Shea Agbaji, you draft last. You also got in that trade for Mitchell. I like him. You also got Marketing. You also got in the Mitchell trade. The Mitchell and Gobert trades. The Gobert trade for Minnesota's a disaster. At least for Cleveland, they're getting their money's worth because Mitchell's was an all NBA guy this year. But both phenomenal returns. But Utah Jazz, Danny Ainge is building something very nice over there. And another young piece in Deontay George. You also got Taylor Hendricks. 17th overall, Los Angeles Lakers take Jalen Hood-Schifino out of Indiana. He's a guard that I like. The Lakers might need to build their depth, through a draft. I expect Austin Reeves to be back. I expect Roby Hachimura to be back because they are restricted free agents. But at point guard, it's a little iffy. Will they resign James Russell? Do they have the money? Will we take it? Will we take a team-friendly deal? Do you want to pay him what you have to pay him after how bad he was in the playoffs, especially in the conference finals? Dennis Schroeder you have under contract, but I think he's better off at this point. He's really better off as a number 2 point guard, not really a starter. He's actually been a very good number 2 point guard. As a starter, he hasn't fared quite as well. But this maybe gives you the ability to let D'Lo walk, and you can save that money and maybe put it somewhere else. See what the Lakers do. This might be the last year they had LeBron James. He might opt out next year. Maybe he'll play with Bronny wherever Bronny gets drafted. So Jalen Hood-Schifino goes to the Lakers. 18th overall, Miami Heat take Jamie Jacquez Jr. So I was a little bit surprised by the pick. I didn't think he would go 18, but not a bad pick by any means. He's a really good player. Jacquez Jr. had a really good career at UCLA. He had 2 really good tournaments. UCLA had some deep runs when he was there. He's a really good defender. I think he fits the Miami Heat culture. You're always working, always playing both ends. That's what he did at 18. 19th overall. We're going to get Brandon Podzaminski. If I said that right. Santa Clara. He's a solid 2-way player. I think he's pretty good. The Warriors, I didn't think we're as great defensively as they were in this past year. So getting a guy that plays both ways is really good. He's another guard. Their backcourt's getting old. Stephen Curry, I think, will be 36. Obviously, you just pick up Chris Paul, who's 37, 38 years old. Klay Thompson is in his mid to late 30s. May only be there not too much longer. So this kind of keeps their backcourt kind of young. He's a Santa Clara kid, so he's kind of local. So it's kind of cool to see him play for sort of his hometown team. So he goes to Golden State. 20th overall, Houston Rockets take Cam Whitmore. So Cam Whitmore is a really, really good player out of Villanova. He was expected to possibly go in the top 5. In my mock draft, I had him going 5th overall to Detroit. I didn't think he would even get close to escaping out of the top 10. But apparently he had his medical scared some team off, and he had some bad workouts, which caused him to fall in the draft. But the Rockets, I think, got an absolute steal. Whitmore is a physical freak, a really good player. And the Rockets have so many good young players. You also draft Amen Thompson. First of all, the Rockets definitely won this draft, getting Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. Getting arguably 2 top 5 talents in this draft. And you already have Jalen Green and Jabari Smith and Alfred Şengün and all these guys. And now you bring in Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson in this draft. Houston's building something nice over there. I really like Cam Whitmore. I'm excited to see a lineup of Amen, Jalen Green, Whitmore, Alfred Şengün. Also, Kevin Porter over there, who's pretty good. Tony Easton's pretty good over there. Houston's got a very exciting young team. 21, Nets take Noah Clowney out of Alabama. I really like this pick because he's a power forward, and Brooklyn needs 2 things. They need they need guys who can shoot the 3, and they need better rim protection outside of Claxton. Then they lack a lot of size. They got killed by Joel Embiid in that first round series. Brooklyn's team was like, hey, kudos to them for hanging in there. Not really, at the time they were the 5 seed, only just dropped to 6 seed, and really because the Knicks actually were just in the second half were red hot. After the trade deadline, I think they were like 10 or 12 games over 500. Brooklyn actually played some decent basketball, even after trading Kyrie and Kevin Durant. And so I thought they could make that series against Philly a series, but they just had no size, and Joel Embiid killed them. So they were either double Embiid, and then you're leaving guys like James Harden, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, who are world beaters, but very good players who can shoot the three wide open, where you don't recover those guys, but Embiid just either hit the three in your face or just yams on you in the paint. So now I think they like the ability to possibly put Clowney next to Nick Claxton, and that'll help solve their side issue. It's also the 22nd pick, and they took Dariq Whitehead at Duke. I like him. And that's obviously trying to get put the Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden era. That was a disaster and a dumpster fire in the past. Now, obviously, you got McCare Brothers, who was phenomenal after you picked him up. You got some other pieces over there. Cam Johnson, who should be re-signed as a restricted free agent. And now you draft these two kids, Clowney and Whitehead. Brooklyn's trying to just, reset. They're able to get a lot of picks back for Kyrie and Durant. So, and they do have a lot of picks. I think they have 11 draft picks in the next 7 drafts. So they could possibly set up to finally build something decent at least. Full of picks they have. And so they take those two kids. Portland Trailblazers take Chris Murray, 23rd overall. His older brother is Keegan Murray, who was ranked 4th overall last year by Sacramento Kings, another exciting young player. Chris Murray is a kid I like. Portland, obviously you get Scoot with the 3rd pick, and they are in dire need of front court help. Jeremy Grant, they have him. I think he might be a free agent. Maybe they need to extend him. Their front court, they have what we talked about already, how deep their backcourt is, but their front court's kind of weak. I like Nurkic, but he's always hurt. Jeremy Grant's pretty good. So that it's very thin, and now Chris Miller definitely helped that. A 24th pick, Dallas picked up. They got Rashawn Holmes and the 24th pick. The Kings were trying to offload his contract to create some cap space to maybe go after an all-star caliber player. Had made the playoff for the first time in 19 years. With a 3 seed, but unfortunately lost in the first round to Golden State. They're trying to take the next step for their organization. Maybe go out and get a guy like maybe Chris Middleton or something like that who just opted out. Possibly, make a run to maybe the conference final or something like that. So Dallas picked up the 24th pick, and they get Oliver, Maxime, Prosper, and Marquette. Don't know a lot about him, but overall, that's very good value. I think they did. I think it's a smart move by them. They made some smart moves during the draft. Moving back only 2 spots, and you move out Davis Bertans' contract. You send him to Oklahoma City, and you get maybe the best shot blocker in the draft, and Derek Lively II. You get to a big man that you need with Christian Wood expected to leave in free agency, and now you pick up another big man in Rashawn Holmes, who's a very good rim protector from Sacramento, and you get 24th pick. You get a second first rounder. 25th overall. So it originally belonged to the Grizzlies, but then they traded to the Celtics in the 3-team trade where the Celtics got Porzingis when they got Marcus Smart from Boston. And Boston traded it to Detroit, and Detroit took Marcus Sasser. Girl like Houston, I really like him. He was a big part of why Houston was one of the best teams in college basketball this year. He's a very good guard. Boston needed, or no, I'm thinking of Boston. Detroit, obviously you got Ivy and Kate already, and then you had another guard giving them some depth. And I think that was a good move. They got a lot of centers over there. Wish all these guys, Duran, Stewart, and Wiseman. I wish one of them could space the floor. None of them really do. But they're definitely building something in Detroit. I like Marcus Sasser. 26th pick was Ben Shepherd out of Belmont. I don't know a ton about him, but the Pacers are definitely stacking young talent and doing it very well. You got Nick Smith Jr. goes to the Hornets, 27th overall. I like him. Funny story, him and Anthony Black, who both played Arkansas, I believe were actually roommates. They did this fun little game I saw on a Bleacher Report out there, like asked them questions, like who's the messier roommate, who talks more about basketball. Like his roommate was kind of funny, but he's a very good point guard. And now Sharp could potentially run out LaMelo Ball, Nick Smith, and Brandon Miller. and you get Teddy Rozier there. Maybe keep him on the bench. Maybe you trade him. We'll see what happens. Utah Jazz also have a 28th pick. They had 3 first-rounders in this draft. And they take Bryce Sensabaugh of Ohio State. I really like Bryce Sensabaugh. He is one of the best pure scorers in this draft. Utah had a really good draft. With the 9th pick, they picked up Taylor Hendricks, who's a really good power forward at a UCF. They get Keontae George at a Baylor, and then they get Sensabaugh of Ohio State. So I thought Utah had 3 really good picks in the first round. So I like that. 29th pick was originally belonged to Indiana, but they traded it to Denver. I think the day before the draft, Denver took Julian Strawther out of Gonzaga. Denver knows this team's going to be expensive to keep together, so they're going to have to build their depth through the draft. So that's what they're doing. That's why during the finals they made the deal with OKC, trade some future first rounders for some first rounders now, for some picks now, and then they make the deal with Indiana to trade a first rounder next year and a second round this year they got 29 and 32. I think a pretty smart move by Calvin Booth. I mean, their GM who got Christian Brumble 21st pick last year, and he had an incredible postseason. He was really good in the finals for them. And maybe see if Julian Strawther could possibly have a similar impact. Rounding at the first round, Clippers took Kobe Brown out of Missouri. Don't know much about him. Notable guys in the second round. Leonard Miller went to Minnesota's first trade, the third pick to Minnesota. You took Leonard Miller at G League Ignite. I like him. The Kings got the 34th pick from Sherman and took Kobe Jones out of Xavier. I like him. The Magic got the 36th pick from Orlando and got Andre Jackson Jr. from UConn. He's very good. And you do a bunch of them. Jordan Miller out of Miami, I like. He goes to the Clippers. 49 overall, the Cavs took Imani Bates. So Imani Bates is a fascinating story. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school at Memphis. Has had some issues, some stuff off the court. Had some stuff on the, has had some injuries, but transferred to Eastern Michigan, was pretty good. He's definitely a project. If the sky's the limit for him. His Florida was definitely probably pretty low as well. But he goes to Cleveland. I would have loved to see him go to somewhere like an old school veteran coach that'll really keep him in line, really get the best out of him, like the Spurs with Coach Popovich or Miami with Eric Spoelstra. But I do like what Cleveland's building. I like Jimmy Bickerstaff. We'll see what happens. Definitely worth a flyer. And Sean Jarrett is in the chat. He asked a question on my Twitter page. He goes, "What do you think about the Warriors drafting Tracy Jackson Davis?" Sean, I actually really like that pick. He sent out a tweet saying, the Leafs gonna regret passing on them. I for his sake, and for the Warriors' sake, I hope he's right. I think he's a very talented kid out of Indiana. Warriors picked him up at trading picking up the 57th pick from Washington. And they take him, Warriors team that's definitely getting older. Steph's going to be 36. Clay's up there. Their son Draymond, he's getting up there. Chris Paul is picked up as like 37, 38. And now you pick up, and then you also use trade by Jordan Poole, who's young. And now you help them stay a little younger with Trace Jackson Davis. So I like that pick. Keontae Johnson went 50th overall pick to the Thunder. Keontae Johnson is an incredible story. He started his college basketball career at Florida. In December of 2020, he collapsed on the court. And he was actually in a medically induced coma for, I believe, 4 days. Missed almost 2 full seasons of college basketball. Last year, finally got cleared to play basketball again. Transferred to Kansas State and had a great season. He was all Big 12. Was one of the best players in the Big 12. Was one of the best players on Kansas State last year, who was in the Elite 8 last year. And now he's the 50th overall pick by the Thunder. Another young piece for the Thunder to play with. Great story. I wish him the best. And Mr. Irrelevant, the 58th pick. There was only 58 picks. A couple of teams lost their picks because they forfeited, I think, for tampering. Was Chris Livingston out of Kentucky. So that's the NBA draft. There were a couple of undrafted guys. I saw Marquise Noel, if you remember. He was the really exciting point guard from Kansas State. And we set NCAA tournament record with 19 assists in one game. He signed a two-way deal in Toronto. I think that's a nice pickup. I think he's got a chance to do something in the NBA. He's got incredible court vision, great passer, really good floor general. I saw actually the Knicks pick up Jacob Toppin, Obi Toppin's younger brother. Who went from he was at Kentucky. No, nothing about him, but I like Obi Toppin. Hopefully his younger brother is something somewhat similar. So he was the guy who got picked up. The Bucks picked up Drew Timme, of course. Drew Timme's got the glorious mustache. He scored a lot of points at Gonzaga. Had a really good career there. Felt like he was there for like 12 years. He was there for 5. But he got signed by Milwaukee. So there's quite a few undrafted guys who were pretty notable who got picked on. I know Adamo Sanago, whatever his name is. Somebody picked him up. So a couple of undrafted guys. We've seen undrafted guys in the past make impacts. Look at the Miami Heat. We're just in the finals. Duncan Robinson, who hit some big threes in the postseason. He was undrafted. Gabe Vincent was the starting point guard. He was undrafted. Caleb Martin averaged 19 points a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. He was undrafted. Now, I think Fred VanVleet undrafted? No, I forgot if Fred VanVleet is undrafted or not. But there's been some undrafted guys in the NBA who have gone on to have some nice careers. So, you never know. You never know. And the only other piece of NBA news that I have is that Pascal Siakam, who some teams were looking to trade for, he apparently he would rather stay in Toronto. Sean just asked me, what are your thoughts about Grady going to the Raptors? Sean, that I think is a great pick. I talked about that a few minutes ago. Grady is one of my favorite players in this draft. He is a great shooter. Toronto needed a point guard with Fred VanVleet opting out. Yeah, he's coming back. He doesn't fit in Toronto that well anyway. I think he's a better fit somewhere else. I think that was a really good pick. He's a great shooter. Moving on to college basketball. Penny Hardaway, the head coach of Memphis, got suspended 3 games for some recruiting stuff from about 2 years ago. Stuff with James Wiseman is what it is. If you remember that whole thing, he got suspended 3 games, and UConn extended their head coach Dan Hurley for 6 more years, worth $33 million for 2029. Great move. He's a really good coach. Obviously, his brother is Bobby Hurley, who's a great college basketball player, and now he's coaching at Arizona State. He's doing a good job there, and Dan Hurley just won a national championship last year at UConn. He's done a really good job there, and so he's under contract for the next 6 years. For NFL, the Bills extended their head coach Sean McDermott and GM Billy Beane through 2027. They've overall done a good job. They still got to get over that hump, but overall they've done a good job, especially McDermott. The NFL has scheduled a special meeting on July 20th when they are expected to officially approve the sale of the Washington Commanders. So it appears in about a month's time, Dan Snyder will be officially out, and Josh Harris will be the controlling owner of the Commanders. As for the PGA Tour, we got the Travelers Championship going on right now. That's taking place. That might actually be in Connecticut. I gotta check. Obviously, we're fresh off the U.S. Open. Denny McCarthy pronounced leader at 15 under par. And yeah, then I'm trying to think what's coming up. Is the second or third event since the PGA and LIV merger. So far no drama yet with that. Thankfully, yeah, and the Travelers Championship is in Cromwell, Connecticut. That's where that's being played. Before we wrap up, I want to talk some wrestling. I want to talk actually Friday Night SmackDown from last week. No, it's a week ago. And then a bunch of that Raw happens. At this point, it's not even be worth me going over it, since the next time I'm gonna be doing this podcast won't be. I don't think I'm even gonna do a show Monday. It won't be until Tuesday, and Monday Raw already happened this upcoming week. But we had a tag team championship gauntlet match. And pretty deadly came out on top. The teams involved were the Brawling Brutes, the Street Profits, the OC, the LWO, and Hit Row. So the Brawling Brutes, which was Sheamus and Rich Holland, they started and they knocked up the Street Profits. Then the OC came in. The OC, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. They eliminated the Brawling Brutes. No, the Brawling Brutes eliminated them. And then the LWO, Santos Escobar, and I forgot the other guy's name. The Brutes eliminated them. They Hit Row, which by the way they are so bad. Please get rid of them. Top Dollar and the other guy and the stupid other lady, B-Fan, whatever her name is. Brutes eliminated them in about 10 seconds, thankfully. Then pretty deadly. The two, Austin Theory's two buddies came in and they knocked out the Brutes. So pretty deadly will face Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the tag team championship at Money in the Bank. And afterwards, Zayn and Kevin Owens came out and congratulated them, and then pretty deadly started, running their mouth, and then Kevin Owens got really pissed off, and he's been raging every week, it seems like. And, said, Sam, I think we should punch him in the face. And Sam said, I agree. You should throw him in the ring, but pretty deadly ran away. So that'll be a tag team championship match. I assume Zayn and Owens will win. We had a women's match. Zelina Vega versus Io Sky. Zelina Vega on the match barely tried to get involved, but she accidentally distracted her own teammate, and then Vega picked up the win. We have the Grayson Waller effect, the talk show hosted by Grayson Waller, featuring Charlotte Flair. He was asking her personal questions. Charlotte Flair is back, and then she's going to challenge Asuka she's going to challenge Asuka for the Women's Championship. And then Bianca Belair came out and said, that she still wants a rematch, and then that whole thing happened. So we'll see where that goes. And then we had AJ Styles and Michin versus Mia Yim. Well, no, Mia Yim is Michin versus Karrion Kross and Scarlett in a mixed tag team match. Remember, after the Karrion Kross and attacking AJ Styles after his match, and Karrion Kross and Scarlett won that match. Scarlett won the pinfall by she punched Styles in the eyes. Maybe a Santos Escobar versus LA Knight, two guys who were both going to be in the main Money in the Bank ladder match. And you had that, and then of course in the end it was time for Jey Uso to make his decision. So Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and the wise man Paul Heyman went out to ringside. Not to ringside, they went to the ring. Jey Uso came out. Jimmy wasn't there, and he was running his mouth, saying a bunch of stuff, and Roman was saying, this is all Jimmy Uso's fault. I know he's your brother. You're gonna stand by him. You guys have always been close, but he's the problem. Then Jimmy Uso came out, and he was saying, the problem isn't me. The problem is Roman Reigns, and Roman was saying, Jay, when you were always trying to make you main event Jey Uso, the only guy who had a problem with Jimmy, and Jay was like asking him if that was true, and Jimmy said it is, and Jay was really pissed off, and he told Jimmy, "You're out." And he goes, "I'm out too," and super kicked Roman Reigns. They both super kicked Solo Sikoa. Then Roman got up, he was furious, and then they both super kicked Roman Reigns. The bloodline has crumbled. It is down to just Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, and of course the wise man. And Money in the Bank, it will be a Bloodline Civil War tag team match. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos. Should be an incredible match. And that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.